Philosopher Stoner 666 here. Oh my goodness, I need to shave. Holy shit. So yeah, this video, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Another junk video, just another little rant, rave about whatever topics come off the top of my head. Some thoughts and reflections about the economy and this virus yet again. Yeah, where to start? It's interesting watching what's going on around the world. Like Europe is in chaos and the United States is in chaos and total economic chaos. 3.3 million Americans have lost their jobs. And many economists like Peter Schiff, Harry Robini, Alan Blinder, a bunch of others have predicted that we're heading into a sort of a Great Depression scenario if the trend continues, and that it'll be a long time to recover. It's quite a bad situation, right? All of these states under basically unofficial martial law and quarantine. The National Guard called out, and the populace, gun sales have gone through the roof. Now, I'm a pro-gun guy. I used to own firearms way back. I don't anymore. I got my license taken away from me. So I'm a little more pro-gun than most Canadians. But yeah, it's as if these people in the States all expect the shit hitting the fan and that they're all just going to kill each other like a bunch of animals. And they don't want to see, they don't want to take responsibility for who the real culprits are. So, as I said in another video, I follow everything. I follow, communists, anarchists, right-wing libertarians, all the ideologies, all the different perspectives. I try to diversify my opinions as much as possible. And I study conspiracy theories, right? So stuff like the Illuminati, the New World Order, all of that. And I guess I don't claim to believe in any particular theory. It's just interesting reading. It's entertaining. One conspiracy that comes to mind with this economic situation in the United States is the Rothschild banking conspiracy. It's basically these people claim, well, it's the Jews running the world, right? Like David Icke says it's the Sabbatean Frankists, which is basically just code for the Jews. And you had in the 17th and 18th centuries this group, this family, not a group, this family called the Rothschilds, and they became very wealthy. They were bankers and financiers, and their strategy was basically finance both sides of a conflict. So in this case, let's say the Napoleonic Wars. And it doesn't matter who wins or loses. What you do with the losing side is you buy up all the assets for pennies on the dollar. And then you charge you serious rates of interest on the victors or the losers, and you make money that way too. Basically a predatory psychopath way of doing things. And how is this relevant? It's the current economic situation. Right, the economy's been going up, really down, and then really up. All sorts of volatile swings. What's happening is, okay, there was a historic dip, downturn. All the rich people, all the, connected central bankers and affluent people, millionaires and billionaires, did a thing where they bought up all the assets for pennies on the dollar. So we're not living in capitalism, in the sense of a meritocracy. We're not living in socialism. We're living in a system of privatizing profits and socializing risks. So like I said, it's the Rothschild example. I don't believe the Rothschilds are running the world, but they're a very good historical example of this kind of predatory system that is That's what's running the world today. The psychopaths take over. And I believe that most of the problems in the world are due to this whole psychopath phenomenon and sociopath phenomenon. Now, I've read quite a bit of books on the subject. There's actually a very famous HBO documentary that talks about this famous psychopath named Richard Kuklinski, who was basically a hitman for the mafia. Very fascinating HBO series. You should go check it out. And in it, the doctor that psychoanalyzes Richard Kuklinski talks about that the traits of a psychopath are basically no empathy, but no empathy as the result of being fearless, of not feeling the emotion of fear. It takes very extreme things to make them feel anywhere near fear. Like there was a story that Kuklinski told the guy about how he was paid to torture his victims. So he went to a cave, sealed them in the cave, and released rats. And the rats would basically slowly eat the people alive, and he would record it on videotape. And he describes feeling a sort of feeling of unease. And the doctor's like, oh, is the emotion you're feeling fear? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And it takes extreme stuff like that for them to feel fear. Now, it's estimated that psychopaths and sociopaths make up about 2% of the world's population, which there's many estimates about this outbreak, this disease. It will take a similar death toll. When you do the numbers in a world that's, say, almost 8 billion people, that's tens of millions of people. And these psychopaths are in every institution. They're in every level of government. They're in every corporation. They're in your church group. They're all over the place. Right? Because we're talking about tens of millions of people. And that's why none of our idealism and none of our systems ever truly work, because the psychopaths take over. They wind up winning, and people are very naive and don't really understand the way how they think. So as I said, it's quite relevant to this phenomenon with the economy. People don't want to see that it's not capitalism in the sense of a meritocracy, and it's not socialism. It's this weird predatory system that's just so dysfunctional and broken, where they have, reality TV stars that are in charge, and no one's in charge. And it's interesting, I mentioned conspiracy theories. There's a famous anarchist book writer named Alan Moore, who did the comic V for Vendetta. It's where the group called Anonymous get their face mask from. There was even a movie made about it. And when he's asked about the subject of conspiracy theories, he's like, and I'm paraphrasing, it's a quote you can go look up, but I'm paraphrasing here, where he's like, people would prefer the idea, conspiracy theory, to believe that somebody is actually in charge. They would prefer that to accepting that really the world is rudderless, it's chaotic, that no one's in charge. Right, there is, and okay, that end of quote. Really, right, there is no God, there's nobody in charge here. No one's running the show, and you got a country like America, 300 million people or more, and then like 300 million guns, food slowly running out, everybody getting sick. I mean, what a fucking fiasco. No one in charge. And then in that kind of environment, yes, the predatory psychopaths are going to take over, and they've already basically taken over with all of this banking fiasco that I've talked about in other videos that economists are talking about. This really corrupt system of privatizing profits and socializing risk and losses. It's truly terrible. It's terrible, and it's sort of with this psychopath phenomenon. That's why I think really most ideas will never be truly actualized in their idealized form, because that the psychopaths wind up getting into power and corrupting things, basically. Like, I'll take an example. There was a guy, he used to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and an economist named Alan Greenspan. Now, Alan Greenspan was an acolyte of Ayn Rand. I might have mentioned her in some of my other videos. So again, very idealistic ideology, very pro, laissez-faire capitalism, but in the rudimentary sense of it being a meritocracy, which, again, I could support. I could go for that. He, all he cared about, though, was the notion of privatizing profits. And when he got into the Federal Reserve, he went along with all of this fiat currency, fractional reserve banking, and for the sake of one issue, privatizing profits, basically sold out all the rest of the ideology. He basically sold everything out. He allied himself with all the right-wing Christian godbother assholes and all the rest, and basically betrayed most of the principles that, the Ayn Rand types held up, other than privatizing profits. So being obsessed on that point, he made this, he was part of it, where he slowly engineered this corrupt banking cartel system, fractional reserve, fiat currency, banking system thing. That is part of this predatory capitalism thing that exists now, which is not a meritocracy. And anyway, yeah, it's sad to see, right? It's like another example would be the communists. I talked about the anarchists, but you would have guys, idealists like Leon Trotsky, and then the people that took over were, of course, Lenin and Stalin, and we all know what happened there, right? So I don't think any idealized system can really ever work out. And things have always been this way, and it's people's lack of awareness of how things work, how uneducated people are, how not well read people are. People don't study history, and the classic saying that those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it, and it's so true. I just really wonder when people are going to wake the fuck up. It's so bad. And it's interesting seeing how all of this is playing out. Government overreach of their power. Like recently, Xi Jinping, the president of China, declared himself president for life. And it's the way cultures think. Like their culture, I lived there for 2 years. Their history is full of, famines and wars and droughts and a lot of chaos and hard times. And so out of that, it was either complete chaos or total authoritarian control. And that's the way they've always been. In fact, it's happening in Russia as well, too, again, where this Putin guy has extended his term another 4 years. A very authoritarian government. And it's like, well, when are people ever going to wake up? And the way I see it is that history is always just repeating itself. And it's so redundant and obnoxious, and we're not doing anything here that's new. History has always been this way. It's always been, pandemics and plagues and wars and famines and, the corrupt taking over and the psychopaths taking over and all this bullshit that, really look at the world and look what's going on and look how quickly things can just go to shit and unravel, and how we're all being played for fools, and it's bad. It's it's bad. There's no guarantees here. It's terrible. I don't know what else to say. Most likely we'll get over this disease outbreak that's occurred. It won't be the extinction event of the human race, but the world's going to be a very different place. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly, and yeah. I feel like I'm making the same video repeatedly, but like I said, these are just sort of rants. It's just for me to vent, to sort of articulate stuff that I've been thinking about. So that was what I was thinking about today, and that's basically it. I keep busy. I'm still looking for a new job. Um, I've been rethinking my investment strategy. Um, my advice would be to continually stock up on food, stock up on guns and ammo, um, buy gold, silver, platinum, and palladium if you can afford it. Perhaps even buy a little bit of Bitcoin, but only a little bit, just as a hedge, and be prepared to dump it and sell it. Um, as I've said before, Bitcoin is a pump and dump scam. It hasn't been used to do anything productive like build a school or a road or a hospital or anything like that. And transacting in Bitcoin is quite limited. It's only to buy illegal stuff on the internet. But yeah, get a little bit of that. I'm also looking into buying oil. They're called oil futures or oil options, and I'm planning on getting into that, holding it for a few years and then selling it once again when the price goes up. And then also investing perhaps in oil tanker companies, which again, when the dust settles, those will get a significant return on your investment. And we must once again return to investing in companies that actually make money. So much of our current or old economy were all these companies like Netflix, right, that ran losses for years and years and years, never making a profit, and yet they're like the most valuable stocks on the market. This ludicrous insanity, this weird predatory system that I can't articulate what exactly it is, but it's we're living in an irrational world. Nothing makes sense anymore. So that's just my advice on how to prepare for the future. That I dwell on the fear porn a little bit, and I read a lot of economic stuff, and like I said, I follow a lot of viewpoints. I don't spend my entire time wallowing in it, though. I think about dealing with the present and preparing for the future, but then also strategies of how to come out on top of it, how to improve myself, and how can I have an edge. Because we must remember that we're all alone here. No one's going to come and save us, and you must take personal responsibility and have self-reliance, and in the end, that's the only thing that can save you, really. So make plans for the future, even though the future seems very grim. Make plans. And last but not least, have a real exit strategy. Have a strategy to exit the game of life if things get too difficult. And I have that, and I have that always in sight. I've contemplated it a lot, but I at least have the option. Emil Cioran talked about that was the most powerful thing you could have. It proved the existence of some kind of vague notion of free will, in his mind anyway, because it's the only real choice that you can make. To be or not to be, that is the question, right? So he said that, yeah, having the option of an exit always in sight kept him sane. It was just that idea that sort of saved him in the end. And he also said the quote, "Only optimists kill themselves when they fail at being optimists. The others, having no reason to live, well, why would they have any to die?" So in a sort of weird inverted way, that's what saved him, and it sort of saved me too. But like I said, I see that the next 2 years at the very least are going to be very dark, very, very dark, and be prepared. That's all. Be prepared for the here and the now. Do the best you can. But like I said, focus on yourself and focus how you can maybe come out ahead of this. That's all. And like I said, have an exit strategy. Anyways, that's enough of a video. Philosopher Stoner 666 out.